Choice hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome back to another episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, where we explore the bold, the daring, and the extraordinary stories, tactics, and equipment of the special and specialized forces whose actions helped shape the outcome of the Second World War. I am your host, Michael Wyers, and today we return to the Albert Canal and to the bridge at Kanne. In our earlier episodes, we covered the preparations for Unternehmen Danzig, the operational planning that placed Sturmgruppe Koch at the center of one of the most audacious airborne assaults in military history. We then followed the assault on the bridge at Velvetzelt, where the men of Sturmgruppe Stahl seized their objective in the opening minutes of Fall Gelb. And in our coverage of Sturmgruppe Beton, we examined the order of battle and the approach to the bridge at Vroonhoven. In part one of our coverage of Sturmgruppe Eisen, we examined the bridge itself and the terrain surrounding it, the order of battle of the 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers, the detailed assault plan that Lieutenant Schächter develops for his 89 Fallschirmjäger, and the Belgian response to the general alarm in the early hours of May 10th, 1940. We then followed the gliders of Sturmgruppe Eisen from Köln-Butzweilerhof to the Opkanne Heights, and we watched the Kanne Bridge destroyed before a single Fallschirmjäger could reach it. Today, we pick up the story in the minutes after that destruction. Schächter's men are on the ground, under fire, and already taking casualties. The bridge is gone. The parachute reinforcement is about to be shredded in the air above North Hill, and the fighting for the Opkanne Heights, strong point by strong point, trench by trench, is only just beginning. This is part 2 of the battle for the bridge at Kanne. Stay with us. So, let's start at the beginning. When we left Gruppe Eisen at the end of part 1, the bridge at Kanne was already gone. Lieutenant Schächter had transmitted his first message to Hauptmann Koch at Vroonhoven. The report was blunt. The bridge was destroyed. Resistance was heavy. The remains might still be usable after pioneer work. Now, as the fighting on the Opkanne Heights intensifies, the cost of those lost 15 minutes becomes clear in every trench and strongpoint across the hillside. The Belgian defensive system on the Opkanne Heights is organized in 2 belts. The first belt is built around strongpoints A and B, held by troops of the 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers. The second belt lies further to the west, organized around strongpoints G H, and I. The system is designed to provide depth and mutual support. What it is not designed to resist is an attack delivered from behind. Several German gliders have come down behind strongpoint B. The position is held by a troop of 6 E Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Thomas. It is already weakened before the fight begins. One detachment, under Sergeant Otterheim, has been withdrawn to reinforce the defense of the Lanay Bridge. The glider of Gruppe 8, commanded by Oberjäger Wilhelm Herr, lands almost directly on top of the Belgian position. The Fallschirmjäger attack immediately. Their assault is rapid, coordinated, and overwhelming. Fire support from Gruppe 2 and Gruppe 5 adds to the pressure. When the fighting subsides, only Thomas and a single grenadier remain alive. Thomas does not surrender. He shifts the position of his 2 machine guns and orders them to engage the Fallschirmjäger. One grenadier seizes a 3rd machine gun and runs down the slope in front of the trenches. From there, he delivers flanking fire against the German assault. Thomas manages to hold what remains of the position for several hours. At approximately 6 o'clock, Lieutenant Schächter is seriously wounded while leading an assault on a Belgian trench. Command of Gruppe Eisen passes immediately to Lieutenant Joachim Meissner. He discovers that both radio operators are out of action. One has been killed aboard the glider of Gruppe 3. The other is badly wounded. Despite this, Meissner gets a message through to Koch. Resistance will be overcome. Command has passed to him. The fighting continues. At approximately 9 o'clock, the situation at strongpoint B changes decisively. Stuka attacks begin. German Fallschirmjäger force their way into the trench system through strongpoint C. The Belgian defenders are overwhelmed. Organized resistance in this sector collapses. Thomas orders a withdrawal south, toward the village of Eben. During the retreat, Thomas and his men come under fire from the Fallschirmjäger of Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig, positioned on the northern face of Fort Eben-e-Mael. By the time Thomas reaches Eben, his detachment has suffered heavy losses. He distributes the remaining ammunition among the survivors and attempts to return towards strongpoint B. Before doing so, he reports to the Group 1 command post to seek further instructions. The post is deserted. Only 4 dead grenadiers remain. Under continuous German fire, Thomas and his men reach strongpoint B at approximately 12:30. By this time, the Germans dominate the area entirely. Attacked from all directions, the Belgian survivors are forced to surrender. The German Fallschirmjäger then turn against strongpoint A. It lies only 200 meters from strongpoint B and is held by men of 6 E Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Neirinks. The defenders, particularly the detachment covering the western flank, now face combined attack by Fallschirmjäger, Stukas, and fighter aircraft. Sergeant Munster of 6 E Compagnie is killed during this phase. Strongpoint A cannot be held. Neirinks orders a withdrawal towards strongpoint H in the 2nd defensive belt. Strongpoint H is found abandoned. The retreat continues towards strongpoint G on the Kanne-Eben road. German fire intensifies along the route. Strongpoint G, commanded by Sous-Lieutenant Henrad, is only partially occupied. Its western side is held by men of Premier Compagnie, Pionier-Bataillon, under Sous-Lieutenant Van Dyck. Neirinks now has only 12 men left. He redistributes weapons and attempts to counterattack and retake his former trenches. The attempt fails. His detachment is surrounded. At approximately 1600, Neirinks surrenders. Shortly afterwards, German Fallschirmjäger enter strongpoint G. The Belgian detachment on the western flank has already withdrawn earlier in the morning, and avoids capture. The men of Strongpoint H also succeed in escaping. Once the Fallschirmjäger secure the Kanne road, Strongpoint 1 becomes isolated. The position is originally assigned to a troop of Treize et Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Berlaimont, but the unit has been drawn into heavy fighting around the command post of 2nd Battalion. Berlaimont is seriously wounded. His men cannot return to their original position. Strongpoint 1 is now defended only by 2 detachments from 6th Compagnie under Sergent Pirenne. No reinforcements are available. The position lies outside the main German axis of advance toward the canal and the bridge. For this reason, Belgian resistance at Strongpoint 1 remains comparatively organized despite the shortage of men. Nevertheless, the German attack eventually reaches this sector too. Groups of Fallschirmjäger move through the village of Eben and advance east of Matanya's trenches. Matanya holds them for several hours. Reinforcements arrive from elements of 6th Compagnie under Lieutenant Génicot, who have abandoned their own command post after judging it untenable. Additional grenadiers join Matanya under Sous-Lieutenant Honrat, once Strongpoint G has been forced to withdraw. While the fighting rages across the 1st Defensive Belt, the struggle for the permanent positions at the heart of the Group 2 sector is equally fierce. Strongpoints C and D anchor the 1st defensive line. Strongpoint J lies in the 2nd line to the rear. It is in this zone, between the 2 belts, that most of the German gliders have come down. Within this sector stand the only permanent concrete military structures at Opkanne: casemates E and F beside the bridge, and Bunker O on the slope of Central Hill. Shortly after landing, the Fallschirmjäger move to isolate casemates E and F. Both positions stand on the western bank of the Albert Canal, on either side of the bridge. Each can fire in only a single direction, one covering north and the other south. That limitation, adequate against an overland assault crossing the canal, makes them poorly suited to resist an attack delivered from behind. Bunker O, on the slope of Central Hill, fires eastward with 2 12mm machine guns and a 47mm anti-tank gun. It is supported by artillery fire from Fort Eben Emael. A telephone line connects the bunker to the fort. The Germans act quickly to sever it. Before assaulting these positions directly, the Fallschirmjäger strike the Group 2 command post. It lies close to the landing area of 5 gliders, those carrying Gruppe 2, Gruppe 5, Gruppe 6, Gruppe 7, and Gruppe 8. Belgian Grenadiers defend it with carbines. Their resistance is determined, but insufficient against German Maschinenpistolen and the violence of the assault. When Sous-Lieutenant Menu, liaison officer of the 2nd Battalion, reaches the command post several hours later, all its occupants are dead. The initiative to descend toward the canal and neutralize the flank casemates is taken by Gruppe 3, commanded by Oberjäger Walter Oskar Gleitzmann. His glider is already burning when it lands on North Hill between the Belgian sectors of Groups 2 and 3. 6 Fallschirmjäger, all without serious wounds, leap clear. They immediately throw hand grenades into the infantry trenches along the hill crest and move downhill toward the bridge. On the way, they demolish 3 houses and capture the crews of the flank casemates guarding the western access road. With support from Gruppe 8, commanded by Oberjäger Wilhelm Herr, Gruppe 3 puts the 47mm anti-tank gun near the canal out of action. Its crew does not surrender until approximately 1900. The Germans then destroy 3 more houses close to the canal and eliminate the 2 small bunkers covering the bridge approaches. This action ends the resistance of the flank casemates. The Belgian detachments there surrender at approximately 11 o'clock. One Belgian officer and 25 men who have taken cover in positions near the hill by the Opkanne settlement are taken prisoner. Gruppe 3 has achieved all its objectives. Despite landing in a burning glider, its men complete their mission with determination. Their success stands out against the disorder surrounding them. Strongpoint C is held by a troop of 5th Compagnie under Lieutenant Berlaimont, reinforced by a machine gun detachment of 8th Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Desmet and a 47mm anti-tank gun. The position comes under attack almost simultaneously with the Group 2 command post. Stuka aircraft bomb the northern side of the strongpoint. The defenders cannot counter an assault from the rear. The situation deteriorates rapidly. Most Belgian grenadiers are killed or wounded. Among the wounded are Sous-Lieutenant Desmet and Sous-Lieutenant Dornea. The remaining survivors are captured. In the southern trenches of Strongpoint C, separated from the rest of the position by a small ravine, Lieutenant Berlaimont watches the destruction of his northern detachment. Unable to intervene, he withdraws with 10 men towards Strongpoint A. He cannot remain there. He continues south to the Eben Road junction, where he digs in and holds until the following day. Strongpoint D, the second Group 2 position in the first defensive line, is occupied by a troop of 5 E Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Massin. Most of the gliders of Sturmgruppe Eisen land behind his trenches. Shortly before their arrival, Massin inspects his positions. He expects an attack from the east. He moves his command post to the summit of North Hill to remain close to his men. When the glider landings begin, he lacks a clear understanding of events. He initially believes that the nearby landing of Gruppe 3's glider is an emergency descent. When he approaches, he realizes the occupants are German. One of them fires at him. Massin returns fire with a single pistol round and dives into a mortar trench. The German assault in this sector is extremely violent. Within moments, only isolated grenadiers continue to resist. The Fallschirmjäger, under Leutnant Schächter, encounter little difficulty eliminating these pockets. One small position south of Strongpoint D, commanded by Sergeant Buntings, is overcome quickly. To the north, a detachment under Sergeant Phelim withdraws, moving its 50mm mortars toward the command post of the 2nd Battalion. The last isolated group, commanded by Sergeant Vermeiren, is almost completely destroyed under constant attacks by Fallschirmjäger, Stukas, and HS 123 dive bombers. Sous-Lieutenant Massin orders Vermeiren to collect the remaining men and organize a new defensive position. The attempt fails. Massin and the surviving grenadiers are captured. One cut-off group, commanded by Sergeant Gabler, continues to hold out. This detachment resists repeated German air attacks until nightfall on May 10, 1940. Their fire supports the men of 8 Compagnie under Lieutenant Berlaimont at Strongpoint E and prevents German forces from crossing the canal to the eastern bank. At the beginning of the assault, a detachment of Fallschirmjäger moves behind Strongpoints C and D and advances towards Strongpoint J. There, Sergeant Van Zurpel, acting in place of Sous-Lieutenant Mormal of 13e Compagnie, who is wounded during the initial fighting, restores a degree of order among the defenders. This resistance forces the Germans to alter their axis of advance. They decide first to seize the bridge and neutralize the nearby casemates and bunker. Only after the fall of Strongpoints C and D do sufficient numbers of Fallschirmjäger move onto Central Hill. From there, they dominate the Tinderberg and close in on the isolated and weakened Strongpoint J. Sergeant Van Zurpele and the remaining defenders cannot withstand the assault. They surrender at 10:30. With the capture of Strongpoint J, the Fallschirmjäger control a large portion of the Opkanne heights. They do not advance further west. Instead, they regroup into a coherent defensive formation organized in depth. This conforms to their orders. Their task is to secure the Kanne area once the main centers of resistance on Opkanne have been eliminated. They concentrate on North Hill and Central Hill, the heights that slope directly down toward the bridge, and the two casemates. The bridge has not been captured intact, but the casemates and remaining trench systems are falling into German hands. The consolidation of the bridgehead at Vroonhoven and the neutralization of Fort Eben-Emael tighten the encirclement of the Belgian Grenadiers and improve the security of Sturmgruppe Eisen's position. After 1700, the intensity of the fighting decreases. Exhausted German assault groups display recognition flags to mark sectors where all resistance has been eliminated. The fight for the Group 2 positions has cost both sides heavily. The casemates have fallen. Strongpoint J has surrendered. The Fallschirmjäger hold Central Hill and North Hill and are regrouping in depth. But the battle is not over. To the north, Group 3 still holds 2 positions, and the men defending them are not yet finished. Group 3 is responsible for only 2 positions in the Kanne sector. Strongpoint E lies in the first defensive line on the western bank of the Albert Canal, near North Hill. Strongpoint K forms the second line position on North Hill itself. Command of the machine gun troop at Strongpoint E rests temporarily with Lieutenant Berlaimont of 8E Compagnie. The designated commander, Lieutenant Berlaimont, has been detached to Vliettingen as an instructor. The troop is at full strength and heavily armed. It carries 2 light machine guns, 4 12mm machine guns, and 1 47mm anti-tank gun. Berlaimont divides his men into 2 sections, one led by Sous-Lieutenant Donnéat de Hamoir, and the other by Sergeant van Velkenhuizen. The German attack begins while several Belgian troops, including the detachment of Lagasse de Locht, are still returning to their trenches. This reduces both strength and cohesion from the outset. Heavy fighting develops on North Hill, but Strongpoint E is not immediately threatened. It lies low on the canal bank, some distance from the heights. On the hills above, the command post of the 2nd Battalion comes under attack by Gruppe 4. Other Fallschirmjäger landing in the sector, including elements of Gruppe 10, assault nearby trenches. During the opening phase of the battle, the Belgians briefly regain the initiative on more than one occasion. Local counterattacks succeed in recapturing 2 trench sections. With the bridge already destroyed and Belgian resistance still active, the Germans are forced to reorganize on the hills. The appearance of Gruppe 10 in the fighting, however limited, is notable. 2 days before the assault, it was still forming. Whether it reached Kanne at full strength on May 10th remains unclear, but its men are present and in action. Strongpoint E holds out until approximately 1600. By that time, German Fallschirmjäger advance from North Hill, where they have secured the high ground, and attack Berlaimont's trenches from the rear. They overrun the trenches of the Group 3 command post, destroy the 47mm anti-tank gun, and capture its crew. They then withdraw back toward North Hill. This action seriously weakens Strongpoint E. Had the Fallschirmjäger advanced a further 50 meters, they would have eliminated Berlaimont's machine guns and broken the Belgian defense at the canal bank completely. It is these weapons alone that prevent elements of Infantry-Regiment 151 from crossing the canal in this sector. The detachment of Sergeant Gabler, which has withdrawn in time from Strongpoint D, proves especially troublesome to the attackers throughout this phase. Berlaimont succeeds in halting German movement along the eastern bank of the canal. The Fallschirmjäger deployed south of his position cause him little immediate difficulty. After nightfall, with all ammunition expended, he withdraws and establishes a new defensive position on the northern flank near North Hill. There, he continues to resist until the morning of May 11th, 1940. Strongpoint K lies on North Hill, its trenches commanded by Sergent Xavier de Thou, de Mélant, et Montjardin, acting in place of Sous-Lieutenant Gillieu. From the outset, the position is involved in heavy fighting, despite lying some 900 meters from the Kanne bridge. When gliders land east of height 120, approximately 500 meters west of the strongpoint, their occupants attack the 2nd Battalion command post situated only 200 meters away. The battalion command post finds itself on the front line. It is entirely unprepared for an airborne assault from the rear. Despite the violence of the German assault, Strongpoint K resists stubbornly and at heavy cost. The left-hand detachment, commanded by Sergeant Wilmot of 5e Compagnie, is destroyed almost immediately. Sergeant Xavier de Thou is killed while manning a machine gun. A machine gun platoon of 13e Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Mormal has originally been assigned to demolish the Kanne bridge. Some of its men and weapons are positioned on the high plain approximately 300 meters east of Strongpoint K to defend against air attack. Once the bridge is destroyed, Mormal's platoon is ordered to occupy the rearward trenches at Strongpoint 1, together with a machine gun detachment under Sous-Lieutenant Berlaimont. Their firepower is intended to support both Strongpoints J and K. Before this task can be completed, Mormal's men observe a glider carrying Gruppe 4, landing roughly 200 meters away. Mormal opens fire immediately. The German Fallschirmjäger disembark and take cover in trees and vegetation, ignoring the fire. As the Belgians move towards Strongpoint K, they come under heavy German machine gun fire. Mormal attempts to lead his men toward a covered approach. Before reaching the crossroads near the battalion command post, they are fired on from the flank by Fallschirmjäger. After a brief attempt at resistance, the Grenadiers are captured. 7 men manage to escape. They reach the battalion command post and receive new orders. They are sent to Strongpoint K to reinforce the detachment of Caporal de Bolster. Sous-Lieutenant Mormal lies wounded where he has fallen. Later, he succeeds in dragging himself back to the command post. The anti-aircraft position on North Hill is also stormed at an early stage. 15 Belgian soldiers are killed. The wounded survivors are taken prisoner. Guarding them proves difficult. The only available holding area is within the Belgian trenches, which are exposed to friendly fire from the battalion command post. From the 2nd defensive line, Strongpoint L provides covering fire in an effort to slow the German advance. This support achieves limited success. A German glider is damaged, forcing its occupants to descend toward the canal. On their return uphill, the Fallschirmjäger encounter the radio post of 14 Régiment d'Artillerie, which is supporting the Grenadiers. Its 4 operators are quickly overpowered. At 6:10, German reinforcements arrive over North Hill. 2 Junkers, 52 aircraft, drop 24 Fallschirmjäger under Oberjäger Nollau from a height of 80 to 100 meters. This is roughly 500 meters from the intended drop zone. Because they land so far from friendly positions, no covering fire is available. Belgian troops engage them while they are still in the air. 14 are killed before reaching the ground. 8 more are wounded. Only 3 remain fit to fight. The reinforcement that Schächter's plan depended upon has been effectively destroyed in the air above North Hill. Men of 7th Compagnie, under Capitaine Comte de Robiano, advance toward their trenches. At strongpoints E and F, under Lieutenant Olivier and Adjudant de Wespin, they encounter German Fallschirmjäger and open fire immediately, supported by strongpoint L. Several Germans are killed. Other Fallschirmjäger, dropped near strongpoint K, suffer the same fate. Belgian soldiers under Caporal de Bolster fire upward as the Germans descend. Ammunition containers are also dropped over the battlefield. One lands directly on Bunker O. German Fallschirmjäger force Belgian prisoners to carry the container up Central Hill, which they now control. While the fighting tears through the Group 2 and Group 3 positions, the struggle for the northern sector of the Opkanne Heights unfolds with equal intensity. Group 4 holds 2 positions on North Hill. Strongpoint F forms part of the first defensive line. Strongpoint L lies in the second line to the rear. At the moment of the German assault, Strongpoint F is manned by a small detachment of 7th Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Holvoet. The position has 2 machine guns. Shortly after the alarm, the men observe a glider landing behind their trenches. They react immediately, opening fire and dispersing the Fallschirmjäger. The speed of this response surprises the attackers, who seek cover and make no attempt to storm Holvoet's trenches. The position is soon reinforced by another detachment of 7th Compagnie under Adjudant-Chef de Wespin. Throughout the day, Strongpoint F is involved only in minor skirmishes. The Fallschirmjäger hold positions to the southeast of the Belgian trenches. No Stuka attacks fall on this position. These comparatively favorable conditions allow Holvoet to maintain continuous contact with the command post of the 2nd Battalion and with the 18th Régiment de Ligne at Vroonhoven. From his position, he has a clear view of the fighting developing around the bridge and the canal. Strongpoint L, occupied by a detachment of 7th Compagnie under Lieutenant Olivier, faces a harder fight. Despite repeated bombing attacks by Junkers 87 and HS-123 aircraft, the defenders hold their ground and prevent the Fallschirmjäger from breaking through the barbed wire obstacles. Strongpoint L also supports the defense of Strongpoint K with machine gun fire. This assistance comes at heavy cost to Olivier's men. 6 grenadiers from Olivier's unit, under Sergent de Meaux, are detached into the village to prepare demolition charges on the bridges over the Yekker along the Brugstraat. After completing this mission, they attempt to cross the canal to return to Strongpoint L. They are intercepted by Fallschirmjäger, and a fierce firefight follows. Forced to seek shelter, they take cover in one of the limestone caves common around Kanne, where civilians who have refused to evacuate are already hiding. De Meaux's men are reluctant to leave the cave and resume the fight. De Meaux therefore departs alone. He swims the canal and makes contact with the grenadiers defending Strongpoint E. Units of the 7th Compagnie are caught by surprise as they move toward their trenches from Zussen. They are approaching the area known locally as the Lone Tree Crossroads on the Tiendebert Plateau, approximately 650 meters from the canal, when gliders descend overhead. On the orders of Adjutant-Chef de Wespin, Holvoet's detachment moves rapidly to reinforce strongpoints F and L. The men of Lieutenant Olivier do the same. The detachment of Sergeant Lagasse de Locht runs towards Strongpoint E. The speed and decisiveness of the Belgian reaction in this sector appears to surprise the German attackers. Strongpoints F and L are successfully reinforced by troops of Capitaine Comte de Robiano. Before the attack, Robiano and his men have no live ammunition. Many Belgian soldiers believe the alarm to be another exercise. Numerous grenadiers occupy their positions without combat rounds. This failure proves critical. Robiano's men must abandon their trenches to collect ammunition. When they return, they are forced to expel Fallschirmjäger, who have already occupied the positions. The detachment of Sergeant Lagasse de Locht attempts to reach Strongpoint E on the high plateau. They are spotted by Fallschirmjäger of Gruppe 10 concealed in a nearby gully. The presence of Gruppe 10 in this sector, already suggested by earlier fighting around the 2nd Battalion command post, is now beyond doubt. Several gliders of Sturmgruppe Eisen have landed in this area. Lagasse's men are met with intense fire. The detachment breaks up. One group attempts to reach a 76mm mortar position 100 meters from the lone tree. Others head toward the command post of Capitaine Levaque. Lagasse himself, with a small group, presses on towards strongpoint E. On the way, they come under fire from the occupants of 2 gliders. Lagasse and many of his men are wounded. Only 2 machine gun gunners succeed in reaching strongpoint E. A detachment of 4 E Compagnie under Capitaine Schächter is ordered to occupy trenches near the Lone Tree crossroads. It is later withdrawn to Zussen in the rearward line and reinforced by a machine gun detachment from 13 Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Berlaimont. The machine gun troop of 4 Compagnie under Sous-Lieutenant Patou does not reach its assigned position until 6 o'clock. Patou cannot access his horses, which have been loaned to a nearby farm. By the time he is fully equipped, German forces are already too close. He remains pinned in his trench and cannot reinforce the defense at Zussen. The Belgian plan requires Berlaimont to divide his machine gun troop into 2 detachments and advance toward the Lone Tree crossroads. Events on North Hill develop too rapidly. One detachment is forced to turn back to strongpoint L, from where it attempts to establish a stronger defensive position in cooperation with the 18th Régiment de Ligne at Vroonhoven. The 2nd detachment, intended to reinforce strongpoint 1, reaches the battalion command post just as the gliders of Sturmgruppe Eisen land on the hills. Berlaimont is shot and wounded, but leads his men into the trenches and opens fire. They cannot withdraw and therefore cannot reinforce strongpoint 1. The 76mm mortar detachment of Lieutenant Dubuque, 15th Compagnie, is unable to reach its assigned position near the Lone Tree crossroads. Machine gun fire from the Fallschirmjäger and Stuka bombing drive it off. The unit loses its horses and most of its ammunition. After a long retreat, the men reach Zussen and play no further role in the defense of the Opkanne heights. The battalion command post on North Hill is also heavily engaged from the outset. Staff officers observe gliders landing east of height 120, only a few meters west of the command position and approximately 1,400 meters from the bridge. The glider of Gruppe 4, commanded by Oberjäger Adolf Brandes, lands almost on top of the command post. The glider of Gruppe 10 comes down between the command post and the Lone Tree crossroads. From the outset, the command post is cut off from the other strongpoints. When the Fallschirmjäger attack immediately after landing, the Belgians defend as effectively as possible. Support arrives from Holvert's men from strongpoint F and from Adjutant-Chef de Wespin's detachment from strongpoint L. Together, they succeed in preventing the establishment of a German position in this sector to the north and west. Pressure on the command post nevertheless continues. Luftwaffe attacks and Fallschirmjäger snipers maintain constant harassment. The situation for Capitaine Levaque worsens when Stuka attacks destroy the telephone aerials. Communications with the strongpoints collapse. The command post is forced to take cover with little understanding of the wider battle. The defensive concept that Colonel Herbier's regiment has prepared along the Opkanne heights depends on coordination between positions, on mutual support, and on timely orders passing up and down the chain of command. All of that is now gone. At the regimental command post, Colonel Herbier fares no better. Unable to contact Fort Eben Emael, he receives none of the anticipated artillery support. By this stage, the fort has already been seized by the Fallschirmjäger of Sturmgruppe Granit, rendering such support impossible. Herbier cannot establish contact with his battalion commanders. He has no clear targets to engage, and no accurate picture of the fighting in either defensive belt. German Fallschirmjäger operate between the lines and between his command post and the battalion headquarters. The battle has fragmented into isolated struggles around individual strong points. Each is subjected to continuous air attack and sudden German assaults from the rear. Belgian defenders are killed or captured. Survivors attempt to withdraw toward neighboring positions still in friendly hands. Despite the deep flaws in the defensive system, the determination and leadership of junior officers and non-commissioned officers delay the German advance at every turn. By the end of the first day, the 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers has lost 7 strongpoints. 4 fall in the first defensive line, strongpoints A, B, C, and D. 3 more are lost in the second line. The Opkanne heights are slipping from Belgian hands. But the fight is not over yet. Confirmed. Writing now. By midday on May 10th, 1940, the battle for the Opkanne heights has become a contest of endurance. The Fallschirmjäger hold the hills. The Belgians are fragmented, exhausted, and increasingly isolated. But they are not yet broken, and the fighting is far from over. During the fighting at Opkanne, the training and organization of the airborne troops proves decisive. Supported by the Luftwaffe, the Fallschirmjäger frustrate every Belgian attempt to regain the initiative. Belgian countermeasures are cautious and poorly coordinated. As the day progresses, they lose momentum. Counterattacks develop in a confused and fragmented manner and lack the force required to dislodge the Germans from the Opkanne hills. One Belgian detachment from the 11th Compagnie, the 11th Régiment de Ligne, sent forward to retake several trenches, is forced to plead with grenadiers they encounter not to fire on them. The constant raids and pressure exhaust the survivors of the 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers. Only one officer attempts a determined counterattack. Major Lecombe, commanding elements of the 2nd Bataillon and the remnants of the 14th Compagnie, assembles a small force armed with a machine gun and a 47mm anti-tank gun. With pistol drawn, Lecombe leads from the front. His effort achieves little. The Fallschirmjäger repel the attack, drive him back, and pin his group down. Lecombe eventually breaks contact and reaches the regimental command post at 16:15, where he is captured by German troops. The German attack is not without error. Air support from the Luftwaffe suffers from shortcomings, primarily due to the lack of reliable radio contact with Sturmgruppe Eisen. Some airstrikes are poorly directed as a result. HS-123 dive bombers attack trench sections already occupied by German Fallschirmjäger. Although the Luftwaffe dominates the airspace over Opkanne, Belgian artillery fire prevents effective relief of the airborne troops. The bridge area remains under intense fire from Fort Eben-Emael and the neighboring heights. Throughout the day, ground contact with the Fallschirmjäger remains impossible for the approaching German forces. Between 10 o'clock and 10:30, Belgian counterattacks exert heavy pressure on the German position. Aware of a Belgian advance at approximately 10 o'clock, the Fallschirmjäger request Luftwaffe support through Hauptmann Koch. They ask for an air attack against the southwest sector, from where the counterattack appears to be developing. 10 minutes later, Stukas are dispatched toward Kanne. The strikes fail to silence the Belgian guns. By approximately 11 o'clock, Schächter's men are again under artillery fire. The bombardment intensifies from 12:30, prompting Lieutenant Meissner to request another airstrike. At this moment, the situation becomes critical. Meissner reports that the final objective is in danger. This assessment is repeated several times during the afternoon. Despite the pressure, the Fallschirmjäger manage to reorganize. They concentrate their fire effectively and prevent Belgian units from infiltrating the bridgehead they have established on the heights. Between 1500 and 1800, Belgian forces launch renewed attacks from the west and southwest. At 1700, the pressure reaches a dangerous level. Koch urges the 8th Flieger Corps to focus its bombing and Stuka attacks on the Belgian artillery positions. He reports that the ultimate objective of Sturmgruppe Eisen is seriously threatened. This time, the combination of Luftwaffe intervention and the fire of Oldinger's flak battalion proves decisive. Belgian counterattacks are broken. Radio contact with Oldinger is eventually established, allowing his batteries to engage their targets accurately. Until then, communication with the Luftwaffe relies largely on visual signals. Flags and improvised panels made from bedsheets mark the areas already secured by German troops. In the early evening, after organized resistance on the Opkanne hills has been suppressed, the Fallschirmjäger of Sturmgruppe Eisen move down into the houses at Eben-Emael and secure the road leading from Eben to Kanne. By nightfall, Sturmgruppe Eisen has established a firm bridgehead on the hills and slopes west of the destroyed bridge. 8 of the 12 Belgian strongpoints have been eliminated. Only strongpoint F in the first line and strongpoints L, K, and I in the second line remain active, together with 2 small resistance nests near the former positions of strongpoints E and D. The cost of the day's fighting places Kanne in stark perspective alongside the other Albert Canal crossings. Belgian resistance at Veldwezelt proves more determined than at Frunhoven. But the greatest difficulties faced by the Germans occur here, at Kanne. The bridge is gone, the reinforcement nearly destroyed in the air, the commander wounded within the first hour, and still the bridgehead must be held. At approximately 1600, advance elements of Infantry-Regiment 151 arrive, preceded by troops of Pionier-Bataillon 51, motorisiert. Despite this, all attempts to establish contact with Sturmgruppe Eisen and Sturmgruppe Granit before nightfall fail. At Fort Eben-Emael, Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig and his men maintain control of the situation. Around 2000, Belgian artillery opens a renewed barrage lasting 2 hours. Lieutenant Meissner requests urgent Luftwaffe support at 2045 to destroy the Belgian batteries. He suspects the bombardment is a prelude to another counterattack. He is right. The Belgians are preparing a further assault, scheduled for 0:30 on 11th May 1940. Several points need flagging before I write. The document introduces Oberstleutnant Melzer as commander of Infantry-Regiment 151 and Oberstleutnant Mikosch as commander of Pionier-Bataillon 51, motorisiert. These are new details, not present in the earlier scripts. Both are consistent with the formations already established, and I will include them. The document states, Mikosch's leading elements reach Kanne at 15:30. The previous source stated, advance elements of Infantry Regiment 151 arrive at approximately 1600, preceded by troops of Pioneer Battalion 51. These two statements are not contradictory. Mikosch's pioneers arrive first at 15:30, consistent with preceding the infantry, and the infantry follow at approximately 1600. I will present them in that order. The document states that Lieutenant Schächter's Fallschirmjäger are close to exhaustion. Schächter was seriously wounded at approximately 6 o'clock, and command passed to Meissner. The document appears to use Schächter's name loosely to refer to his force rather than him personally. I will use Meissner as the active commander throughout and refer to the force as Gruppe Eisen rather than attributing it to Schächter. The document refers to Canal North as one of the last active Belgian positions at Fort Eben Emael. This is the first mention of this specific position in the Kanne narrative, though it appeared in the broader Fort Eben Emael context. I will use it as given, without elaboration beyond what the source states. The document describes Sergent Pirenne's capture in considerable personal detail, which provides a valuable human dimension to close the Bunker O narrative. I will use it to anchor the opening of this section, connecting it to the previous material about Bunker O and the bridge demolition from Part 1. Nothing here blocks writing. Proceeding now. While Lieutenant Meissner's men fight to hold the Opkanne heights, the fate of the men who destroyed the bridge is being decided on the canal bank below. Sergent Pirenne, who detonated the Kanne bridge in the opening minutes of the battle, has taken cover near its shattered remains. The garrison of Bunker O, who withdrew into the position at Pirenne's order before he ignited the fuses, are equally trapped. Early that morning, Pirenne telephones the bunker commander, Maréchal de Logis Sauveur, to warn him that enemy airborne troops are operating above his position. At approximately 6 o'clock, the intensity of the fighting briefly subsides. German bombers then appear, diving toward the trenches with their sirens screaming. From his position, Pirenne sees nothing on the crest of Central Hill. He hears only German voices and shouted orders. Shortly afterwards, he observes 2 or 3 Fallschirmjäger on the hillside, escorting a group of disarmed Belgian soldiers. He understands that German troops are gradually encircling him. His situation is becoming impossible. He decides that escape will only be possible after nightfall, when he hopes to reach Fort Eben Emael. At intervals, he telephones Bunker O to report what he sees developing behind the Belgian lines. By approximately 1900, with Kanne and Opkanne firmly in German hands, Pirenne, Sauveur, and the remaining defenders surrender. Throughout the entire day, they have fired only a few bursts with their machine guns and just 2 rounds from the 47mm anti-tank gun. The choice facing them is stark. Either they remain in place and risk destruction by German hollow charges, or they capitulate. After remaining concealed for several hours without ever firing a shot, because no German presents a clear target, Pirenne hears shouts ordering him to come out. He raises his rifle and hesitates. The decision is taken from him. A German Fallschirmjäger appears, with his rifle aimed, repeating the order to emerge or be shot. Pirenne obeys. He is asked whether anyone else is with him. He answers that he is alone. He is forced to throw his rifle into the canal and walk ahead of his captor. As they approach a farm at the foot of the hill, the German orders him to remove his helmet. There, Pirenne is handed over to another Fallschirmjäger with a drawn pistol, heavily armed with a machine pistol, unfamiliar grenades, and a bandolier slung around his neck. Pirenne is ordered to remove his equipment and is questioned in German, which he understands only imperfectly. The farmer's wife emerges with 2 bowls of molasses prepared for the Fallschirmjäger. Pirenne accepts one, though he feels no hunger. German aircraft continue to circle overhead, and bombing resumes. They take shelter in a natural hollow near the farmhouse. When the danger passes, they move out again. A burst of machine gun fire skims Pirenne's feet. While helping carry an ammunition case, he is shown a house in Opkanne and made to understand that the firing comes from Bunker O. 20 meters away, a cannon round strikes the canal, followed by another slightly further on. They return to the caves. When the firing subsides, Pirenne is taken to Tiendeberg. His story is one of the most intimate accounts to survive the battle at Kanne. But the larger struggle continues around him. In the operational planning for the assaults on Kanne, Opkanne, and Fort Eben-Emael, Gruppe Eisen is always intended as a temporary force. The Fallschirmjäger are not tasked with holding Kanne or the fort permanently. Their role is to neutralize the Belgian defenses and open the way for the rapid advance of German ground forces into the interior of Belgium. That relief is to be provided by Infanterie-Regiment 151, commanded by Oberstleutnant Melzer, and Pionier-Bataillon 51, motorisiert, commanded by Oberstleutnant Mikosch. Mikosch divides his battalion into 3 assault groups. The first is assigned to expand the Kanne bridgehead. The remaining 2 are to enter Fort Eben-Emael under the covering fire of the first group. The leading assault group is tasked with advancing as rapidly as possible toward the Fallschirmjäger, exploiting the terrain on the western bank of the canal to support 6th Company, 2nd Bataillon, Infanterie-Regiment 151, 2nd Company, Pionier-Bataillon 51, and a machine gun detachment from 8th Company of the same battalion. Relief is slow in coming. The demolition of the bridges at Maastricht blocks any rapid advance by the Wehrmacht spearhead toward the airborne troops at the 3 canal bridges and Fort Eben-Emael. Only after a provisional crossing is constructed at the site of the destroyed Sint-Servaasbrug can Mikosch resume his advance. His leading elements reach Kanne at 15:30. 30 minutes later, they attempt to force a crossing of the Albert Canal. They even try to use the shattered remains of the bridge. These attempts fail. The machine guns of Lieutenant Berlaimont near strongpoint E prevent any passage. The situation for Gruppe Eisen is critical. Meissner's men are close to exhaustion and may not withstand another Belgian counterattack. By 1700, the position remains dangerous. Mikosch's troops attempt to cross the canal on 3 separate occasions. Each attempt is beaten back by Berlaimont's machine gun fire. At 2100, they try again, this time with flak support. The result is the same. Heavy Belgian fire blocks the crossing. Neither Luftwaffe intervention nor the efforts of German pioneers succeed in silencing the machine guns. A handful of Belgian defenders is holding back an entire infantry battalion. 1 lieutenant with 2 gunners and 1 sergeant with 6 gunners deny the crossing. At the same time, one of the last active Belgian positions at Fort Eben-Emael Canal North keeps the destroyed bridge under fire, further preventing any German attempt to reach the Fallschirmjäger on the western bank. At Opkanne, Gruppe Eisen is equally constrained. Meissner's men cannot cross from west to east. Elements of Gruppe 1, commanded by Oberjäger Hugo Czerwinski, and Gruppe 3, under Oberjäger Walter Oskar Gleitzmann, both heavily engaged throughout the day, repeatedly attempt to make contact with German assault troops and pioneers on the eastern bank. All such efforts fail. As long as Berlaimont's machine guns continue firing, the bridge remains impassable. 1 Gruppe alone succeeds. That afternoon, the men of Gruppe 2, commanded by Oberjäger Karl Henschel, swim the canal and reach the eastern bank to reinforce the German troops holding Kanne. It is a small crossing, but it is the only one made on May 10th, 1940. The battle for the Kanne Bridge is over. The cost can now be counted. Among the German Fallschirmjäger, 26 men are killed during the fighting at Kanne. A significant proportion of these casualties fall among the heavy machine gun Halbzug under Oberjäger Nollau, destroyed almost entirely in the air above North Hill before its men can fire a single shot. It is worth noting who these men are. Many of the Fallschirmjäger who fight on the Opkanne Heights come directly from Wehrmacht infantry or pioneer units. They have no previous airborne experience. Their assignment to Sturmgruppe Eisen rests on their high level of training as pioneers rather than as Fallschirmjäger. They are specialists thrown into one of the most complex airborne actions of the entire operation. The number of German dead at Kanne is significantly higher than at either Veldwieselt or Vroonhoven. It is nevertheless small when set against Belgian losses. Belgian casualties amount to 215 killed, including 11 officers. 50 men are wounded, and 190 are taken prisoner. The 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers alone suffers 157 dead. 67 of these fall in 2nd Battalion, the formation that holds the forward belt across the Opkanne heights and bears the full weight of the German assault from the first minutes of the battle. 5th Compagnie of that battalion loses 37 men at strongpoints C and D, including its commander. These figures speak to something that the tactical narrative alone cannot fully convey. The men of the 2nd Régiment de Grenadiers fight without adequate communications, without the artillery support they had planned for, without the ability to coordinate between strongpoints, and against an assault delivered from a direction their entire defensive system was not designed to face. Junior officers and non-commissioned officers make decisions in isolation, under air attack, with diminishing ammunition, and no clear picture of the wider battle. Many of them fight on, long after any reasonable prospect of holding their positions has gone. The losses they inflict on Gruppe Eisen and the repeated failure of Mikosch's crossing attempts throughout the day demonstrate that the defense at Kanne, for all its structural flaws, is never simply swept aside. And that concludes today's episode. The bridge is gone. The Opkanne heights have cost both sides dearly. Berlaimont's machine guns have held the canal crossing against everything Mikosch's battalion can throw at them. And the men of Sturmgruppe Eisen, exhausted, isolated, and far beyond the limits of what their mission plan anticipated, have held their bridgehead through the longest day of their lives. The story of Kanne is complete, but the story of Unternehmen Danzig is not. In our next episode, we turn to the final and most extraordinary chapter of Sturmgruppe Koch's operation. While Sturmgruppe Stahl, Sturmgruppe Beton, and Sturmgruppe Eisen fought for the 3 Albert Canal bridges, the men of Sturmgruppe Granit descended by glider onto the roof of Fort Eben-Emael itself. What they did there, with hollow charges, determination, and audacity in the hours that followed, will close this series. In putting this episode together, several works proved indispensable. James Mrazek's account of the assault on Fort Eben-Emael provided essential operational context, as did Chris McNabb's study of the Belgian campaign in 1940. For the granular detail of the bridge assaults themselves, the research of Oscar Gonzalez, Thomas Steinke, and Ian Tannehill into the Fallschirmjäger operations at Veldwieselt, Vroonhoven, and Kanne offered a level of precision that few sources can match. If you want to go deeper into this subject, visit www.worldwar2-sof.com. There, you will find dedicated pages on Fort Eben-Emael and all 3 Albert Canal crossings, including photographs, detailed maps, original documents, and the full source base behind this series. But for now, thank you for listening to the Special Forces in World War II podcast. I am your host, Michael Wires, signing off. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.